Hey, it's Mr. Keys, and we're going to continue with learning the rules of how to create drum beats. Today we're going to focus on the role of the snare and where it should not occur. So basically, the rule is pretty simple. Don't put the snare on beat 1 and beat 3. It can go in many other places, but that is one of the places where the beat just doesn't really sound good. And I'll give you an example of what that sounds like. So if you remember, this is our beat outline. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is what it sounds like when the snare comes on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. It sounds like a marching band, like something like that. Unless that's what you're going for in your beat, that's probably something that you want to avoid. Now that's not to say that the snare and bass drum never come together. There's like in dance music, for example. In a lot of different styles of dance music, they'll have the bass drum coming on every single beat. So on beat 1, on beat 2, on beat 3, and beat 4. That's what's known as 4 on the floor. So it sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they'll have the snare, in the spot that it should be, which is the 2 and the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Something like that. Right, so you have beats like that. But still following those rules. So the snare is only coming on the 2 and the 4. All right, so hopefully that's clear. Let's move on to the next rule. All right, so this one is slightly different in the sense that we're going to be talking about, how we normally have our beat grid, which is this guy, and this guy. So this is our beat outline. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be shifting these away from the 2. So when I initially gave you the rules for how to create a drum beat, we said bass on 1, snare on 2 and 4. But this is going to show you how you can actually shift them off of those beats and do it in a way where it actually creates a really nice drum beat. So the only rule is do not shift all of them. If you shift all of them, you lose the sense of the beat. All right, so you can shift 2 out of 3, you can shift 1 out of 3, but do not shift all of them. Not only that, the beginning of a section always needs to have the bass drum on 1. Otherwise, you lose that sense of feeling that the beat is secure and just sets up the beat really nicely. All right, so let's take a look at how that can work. And so let's say we have the bass drum on 1. Instead of having the snare on 2, we have it one spot before. So we're looking at the 16th note grid, and then we keep this one on 4. Okay, so let's see how that sounds. Now, obviously, when you have a hi-hat pattern, if the hi-hat pattern is pounding out the 16th note grid, so it's going like 16 notes, so 1, a half, a 2, a half, etc. Then it makes it even better because that kind of keeps the beat for you. So here's how this sounds: 1, a half, a 2, a half, a 3, a half, a 4, a half, a 1, a half, a 2, a half, a 3, a half, a 4. All right, so you can see how that really kind of pushes the snare early, and I'll do it with a hi-hat pattern so that you hear how it sounds. Etc. All right, so we can add to this. So we're not going to put the snare on the 2. Let's do a shadow here, and use the pen instead of the mouse. Okay, so let's do a shadow here, and let's do a shadow here. All right, so now our beat's a little more complex. So 1, a half, a 2, a half, a 3, a half, a 4, a half, a 1, a half, a 2, a half, a 3, a half, a 4. All right, so just fills it out even more, and we have all this empty space, and it sounds so good. Remember, you don't need to fill up everything. If you want, you can, but the beat just starts to sound a little sloppy after a certain point. Besides, you're going to have so many other instruments doing other things. You want to leave room for those instruments as well. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's try another example. Let's offset, we're not gonna offset this guy right now. So let me just fill in, let's offset the second snare. So we'll offset him this way, okay? And we'll use another color for our shadows. Oops. Okay, so that's gonna be shadow. And I don't know, we'll have a shadow here maybe. And here as well. Okay, so here we go. 1, a half, a 2, a half, a 3, a half, a 4, a half, a 1, a half, a 2, a half, a 3, a half, a 4, a half, a 1, a half, a 2. So really, really syncopated, meaning like the stresses, where the beat should be, we're not feeling that. We're feeling the beat off of the beats. Remember, our beats start on these guys right here. Oops. Right, that's our beat. So if there's any note that comes anywhere else, it's offbeat. Here's an offbeat, here's an offbeat. Oh, look, our main snare is offbeat now. So that's why it gives it that feeling of syncopation where it's just like, oh, that was different. All right, so play around with this, play around with the offsets. If you're gonna add the bass on the third, that's another good one to offset. So instead of maybe having it here, let's take a look. So we'll do this. We'll do this one on here. We'll do our offset. And let's offset this one too. Okay, so this one has been moved over and this one has been moved over from here. Okay, these are not arrows for shadows. So we have 1, a half, a 2, a half, a 3, a half, a 4, a half, a 1, a half, a 2, a half, a 3, a half, a 4, a half. All right, and with the hi-hat, really sounds good. 1, a half, a 2, a half, a. And so on. All right, so really gives us some interesting beats. Well, that's our lesson for today. Hope you learned a lot. See you next time.